It's now time for Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. It began as a podcast, went live on the net, and transformed into a full-blown empire. It's the only daily boxing talk show on the planet, hosted by the only guy with the balls to do it. Many have stepped into the ring. Many have tried to take the belt. And one by one, they've fallen. Another victim of the undisputed heavyweight champion of boxing talk radio. Talkin' Boxing with Billy C is on now.
My style is impetuous, my defense is impregnable, and I'm just ferocious. I want your heart.
And we're coming to you live from the Billy C Studios in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Calogero, and it's time for the Billy C Show. Good morning, good day, good evening. Whenever you listen, whenever you're watching, I hope you're doing okay. I hope you had a great week. I hope you enjoyed the fights. Today's show is being brought to us in part by Sal's Neighborhood Pizzeria and Italian Restaurant, located on beautiful St. Simons Island in Georgia. Check out the website, www.salsneighborhoodpizzeria.com, or give my man a call, 912-268-2328, 912-268-2328. Find out why I go all the way to St. Simons for an authentic Italian meal. And speaking of St. Simons, our next Billy C boxing event, we have the dates. It will be taking place the week of the Mexican holiday, in September. It's going to be Thursday, Friday, Saturday. We have some pricing that we will release tomorrow. Now, just keep one thing in mind. We are going to have a golf tournament. We're going to have a fishing tournament. We're going to have a meet and greet. We're going to have dinner at Sal's. We're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to have a fight night. Okay, all these things going on, and we are going to offer a package that will include everything, and you get your own room accommodations because there's several choices on the island of St. Simons. Plus, don't forget, it's part of the Golden Isle. So you got Sea Island and Jekyll Island right over the bridge. Plus, you got Brunswick, so there's a lot of options for you. We will give you the exact numbers tomorrow. So if you want to get put on that list, because remember, you're going to have an invitation/ticket to get in. Just drop me an email, billy@talkinboxing, TalkinBoxing.com. Today's show is also being brought to us in part by BlueSkyVacations.net. Hey, it's a new site. You've heard of all the other ones, but you're looking to go on a vacation? Check out www.blueskyvacations.net and then tell me that you can't get the best deal. www.blueskyvacations.net. And finally, today's show is being brought to us in part by my book, Tom Molyneux, From Bondage to Baddest Man on the Planet, is available right now where all good books are sold. And you can get a copy of this book right now while you're watching or listening to the show. Just visit barnesandnoble.com or amazon.com. You want a signed copy? Don't worry about it. Just go to our website, billycboxing.com, and click on the book. You want more than one copy? Then just drop me an email and I'll hook you right up with a good deal. Billy@talkinboxing, TalkinBoxing.com. This past weekend, we had a couple of good fights on that we got to watch. A couple of, I just don't know what they're thinking kind of comments. I got some emails to read. We got a preliminary announcement for Sergey Kovalev's next fight. But first, I want to kick off the show with this. If you watched the fights on ESPN Saturday night, the main event, Jose Ramirez beat Amir Aman in a very exciting fight. I'll get to that in a second. But during the broadcast of that fight and all the other stuff that was going on ESPN, they showed a interview that was done by this new guy who is just terrible. But anyway, is he trying to be Larry Merchant or what? I mean, the one thing that makes a commentator good is when it's them being themselves. If they're being themselves, you can distinguish. I mean, listen, I don't want to give overrated kudos. And I was never a huge fan of Teddy Atlas. But one thing you got to respect about Teddy Atlas is Teddy Atlas. Teddy Atlas doesn't try to be anybody else. He doesn't change his way. It doesn't matter, what he's watching, where he is. Teddy is Teddy is Teddy. And you got to respect people that are real, that are genuine. This guy, Mark, does not seem genuine. He's trying to copy that Larry Merchant. We were just talking about it. That presentation of his discussion and comments and stuff are being presented similar to the way Larry Merchant did. But forget that. What I want to talk about is the interview that was conducted between Don King and Bob Arum. And let me tell you, I enjoyed that. Normally, I fast forward because I like to record these events, then watch them, so I don't have to listen to the rhetoric in between fights or watch all the commercials, etc. But let me tell you something. I thoroughly enjoyed watching Don King and Bob Arum in the same room talking about the history together. They're both 86 years old. Both have been in the business almost a half a decade, and it's amazing to see. And what I gathered by all of that, plus all the interesting stuff that went on during that interview, some behind-the-scenes stories, etc., which were great, I came to the conclusion that Bob Arum and Don King were perfect dance partners as competing promoters. And the end result was what we got treated to during the heyday of both their careers. It's the exact same thought process that we discuss on a regular basis on this show about how important it is for fighters to have the proper dance partners. We mentioned Joe Frazier and Muhammad Ali and Kenny Norton, and Sugar Ray Leonard and Marvin Hagler, Tommy Hearns and Sugar Ray Leonard. The list goes on and on and on. But what makes these guys so great is the fact that they had a dance partner, and not only a dance partner that was willing to get in the ring with them or deal with things outside the ring like King and Arum did, but which were so much of a rival that it brought out the best. And as outrageous as things could get, you would always kick it up a notch because of that competition factor. And Don King and Bob Arum were certainly great dance partners, not only for themselves and for the success of their own careers, but for boxing. Joining me right now from St. Simons is my man Sal Rocky Senecola. And Sal, I don't know if you caught that. I know you were watching the Fight Trips or Drabs. I don't know if you caught that interview, but the bottom line is that these two guys were willing dance partners, and they were at each other's throats. Nobody hated each other at the times than Don King and Bob Arum. But you know what? Because of that competitiveness of both, because of the competitive nature of both of these guys, and because of the competitive nature of the business they were in, they needed each other, and they both admitted how much they needed each other, and that they would have not have been as successful as they both were without each other. What's your thoughts on those two guys being such great dance partners, and the ultimate success was the sport of boxing during their times?
Well, I think you hit it right on the head, Bill. You know, these guys were great dance partners, just like we look for in styles make fights. And when we see two fighters that make good dance partners, it gives a great performance. And the same thing with these two great promoters. And, you know, they were grassroots, they were legends, and they tried to one-up each other. And how did they do that? Was with the concurrent promotions that they continued to do. They made it exciting. They made it in your kind of face kind of thing, and they got into people's emotions to come and see the greatest fight of all time. And each fight we were given from these guys, we felt like we were going to miss out if we didn't see it. So these guys were great, and they are the foundation of what boxing happened. And then, you know, Lou Duvica came on board in Top Rank, and he was another one. But for the legend and everything as it was, Don King and Bob Arum were the two forefathers that carved through the woods and laid out the foundation.
You know, they because their dislike for each other, they never didn't respect each other, and it was kind of cool to see Bob Arum giving Don King accolades. He says, I was a Harvard grad. I'm a lawyer. I'm a Jewish guy. I'm controlled. I'm this. I'm that. And he says, and then there's Don King. this animated guy that was bigger than life. And they showed a lot of clips for the Oscar De La Hoya Tito Trinidad fight, in which no one gave Trinidad a chance. And he wins, and Don King Bob Arum was admitting how aggravating Don King was. And Don King was like the only guy cheering. Everybody else was somber because, Oscar De La Hoya wasn't supposed to lose the fight. And Don King was just getting under Bob Arum's skin. And he admitted in the interview that if he had a gun, he would have shot Don King. I mean, this is what he says in the interview. And Don King is laughing.
I got to go back and watch it.
And I tell you an interesting thing. He said one of the big successes that Don had over Bob Arum, was the fact that Don King knew how to relate to the fighters, and basically his secret weapon was cash. And he would always, and you know what? I heard so many multiple stories about fighters taking deals. Larry Holmes did it. Muhammad Ali did it, about taking deals when Don King just had a suitcase full of cash, and they accepted that for less money than they could have held out for. And then, remember, we were talking the other day about this is how fighters say, oh, I got robbed. Well, you walk out with that cash. And Bob Arum says, Don had it. Don King was telling the story.
He had a war chest.
Well, he was telling stories how he would tell a fighter, go ahead, reach into that drawer. As much money as you can pull out, you get to keep. And he was telling the stories. And Bob Arum, he was saying, I just didn't do it that way. And Don was so successful. And Don turned around and says, hey, it was anybody would do that. It's human nature. You see cash. Forget about a check. You see cash, and you react a lot different. And he was 100% right. And that experience he gained from the streets, Sal.
Well, of course. And you had two different educations, as you suggested. I mean, Bob Arum, it was known that he was a Harvard law grad. I mean, I knew that. And this guy was a brainiac in his field, and he wanted to get into promoting and boxing, and he did. But you had Don King, a man from the streets that could connect, as you suggested, with the fighters, that knew the emotions, that played the game, and he was able to win over. Of course, with that war chest full of cash too, that was a big influence. But each brought their unique facets to the game, and through their wanting and their desire and their hearts to promote the biggest fights, the best fights that they possibly could. And that's why their rivalry was unmatched, and that their foundation of what they provided and the stellar fights that they put together, it was unique, and it's going to be carved out in the history books in the era of boxing how special those two gentlemen really were.
Yeah, well, there's no question about that. They're both in the Hall of Fame, and we were lucky as boxing fans to be able to benefit from the competitive nature of both of those guys as men. Don King, the man, and Bob Arum as the man. But I really have to question if they didn't exist at the same time the way they did, would they have been as successful? And the answer I come up with is no. I don't think they would have been. I think that they needed each other just like peanut butter needs jelly, man. And the truth of the matter is that, like I keep saying, the competitiveness of these two guys wanted them to outdo each other, whether it be a promotion, whether it be signing a fighter, whether it be acting like the fight that they are promoting is the best ever. Don King made you feel like if you didn't buy a ticket to his fight, that you were going to miss out on a life-changing event. And he was able, even if he laid an egg with an event and it didn't come out, the next one he would make you feel, and you would bite it. You'd be like a fish that just couldn't resist the worm. I mean, it was amazing at what he was able to do. And and Bob Arum had the willingness, as much as he despised Don King in their younger days, had the willingness to put that hatred aside and work together. And both of them did, Sal. And that was something that we missed, more recently over the last 20 years. These promoters that weren't willing to work with each other, and the end result is not only do they shoot themselves in the foot, but they hurt the sport in general. Don't you think?
Oh, absolutely, and that's what you just really compounded the fact that yes, these guys would be successful because they're smart gentlemen. They know how to do it. They would have been successful in any era without each other, but no, they would not have the unmatched success that they both reached and attained through being that rival and through being that as competitive. And you're so funny. I mean, Don King, man, he promoted so many fights of the century and fights of a lifetime. Man, I feel like I'm 1,000 years old. I go in boxing years.
I tell you, people are always saying negative stuff about Don King, but I have, I know Don, and we're both very good friends with Carl. But I always like to tell a Don King story that I have that affected me. One time, Don King was promoting probably the last big event that he promoted was the Tito Trinidad versus Roy Jones Jr. fight that took place at Madison Square Garden. And I was helping promoting that event. And, we were promoting the show, et cetera, and we had Don come on. And Don King was one of the best interviews I ever had, and we told him, we had it all set up. We said, listen, Don, you're only going to be on for 10, 15 minutes, blah, blah, blah. Well, it turned out to be about 48 minutes that we had Don on, and it was a great interview. As a matter of fact, I had it up on the website for a while, and there's bits and pieces that we do play occasionally. But here's the point of the story. During the interview, at the end, he kept saying, I want you to come. And this was on the interview, all right? He kept saying, I want you to come to the fight. You'll be my guest, blah, 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 blah. And I took it like, yeah. Don King, he's putting on a great interview. It was a great piece, etc. So after the show, I had already applied for, and I said to him, on the show, I said, well, I'm already coming. I have credentials. I'm going to be attending the fight. So when we went and to go pick up the credentials, it was a cold day in February at Madison Square Garden, and I waited online like everybody else. And as a matter of fact, that's the first time I met Carl King. That's a whole nother story. But anyway, so I get my credential and I go in, and I'm looking at it, and the place where they put in a lot of the writers and people covering it were at Madison Square Garden. It was section 300, which was way up in the top, And I'm scoping out the scene, and I'm saying to myself, wow, this isn't that great. And I went back into the press room. And I asked one of the guys, I said, is this right? And he said, let me see your credential. And he looks at my name, and there's a highlight next to it. He says, oh, no. He says, you're not sitting there. He says, you're one of the highlights. Here's yours. You should have come to me first, Ed, says. And he hands me this thing. Well, I end up sitting the third row in the press, and two guys down from me was Don King. I mean, he sat me right next to him. And it was great. I had a great seats, which, I covered the fight, etc. But Don King was certainly a man of his word. I didn't get a chance to hang with him that night, but he certainly was a man of his word for me, Sal. He put me right where he said. And I have another story from that event with Bert Sugar. We're in the press room, and Bert Sugar's in there, and he was trying to call his wife, and he couldn't get an outside line. And I said, "Hey, Bert,
before cell phones, Bill."
No, I had cell. He didn't have a cell, and I had met Bert Sugar several times before up at the Hall of Fame and at different events. And I said, "Hey, Bert, you want to use my phone?" And he's like, "Yeah." And in return, he recorded a segment that we still use. I think I still have it. But anyway, it was a great night, man. But Don King, he lived up to he basically did for me what he said he was going to do, and I was shocked, to be honest with you, Sal.
Well, I'm glad you said that because, Don, from my very first meeting with Don, and I think I shared it just the other day, I grew up in a nice little upper middle class town called Rivervale, New Jersey, in Bergen County, and who was one of my neighbors and fellow townspeople were the Goodmans. And you had Murray Goodman, who had a stellar career, was Don King's right-hand man, and Murray Goodman's son, Bobby Goodman. So here were guys that gave me a whole segue, and they knew I was fighting. I just won the Golden Gloves, and my aspirations already were, hey, I want to be a world champion. So they were doing some kind of fundraiser, and they invited Don King, Lou Duva, and this before Duva was even a promoter, just a trainer. And I think this was the late 70s or whatever. And I had the opportunity to meet Don King in my own hometown. He came to visit us, and we played golf at the Rivervale Country Club that day. And Don took a liking to me, and he was already taking photos and promoting me and saying, here's a future world champ and all this. And he said, Sal, who's your favorite fighter? I said, God, who I emulate my style after, who I love, is Roberto Duran. And Sal, he goes, wow, Sal, that's great to hear.
Sal, hold that thought. I'm gonna pick you. We're gonna pick right up where you left off. I gotta take a short break right here. They're really coming down on me of that. We're gonna pick it up right where Sal had said, who's your favorite fighter to Don King. Don't go anywhere. We will be back in 2.
Billy C will be right back.
Broken air conditioning, $4,400. Failing refrigerator, $2,500. Don't let outrageous repair and replacement bills like these bust your budget. Get the First American Home Warranty Plan. And when a covered appliance or system breaks, we'll repair it or replace it for you.
We had a high-end dishwasher go kaput. They put it in a brand new dishwasher.
We have plans that cover air conditioning, most appliances, plus heating, plumbing, electrical systems, and much more. Plans start as low as $25 a month. Why let a major appliance or system breakdown bust your budget or go through the hassle of finding trustworthy service people? Last year alone, we saved our customers over $120 million. Don't wait until something breaks and you're stuck with a huge bill.
You save a lot of money.
It's absolutely worth it.
If you don't have First American Warranty, get it.
Call 1-800-946-6234 for your free no-obligation quote.
Need relief from backaches and stiffness in your hips or down your legs? Then you need Dr. Ho's Back Relief Belt. The innovative technology works to support and decompress your spine. And now it's covered by Medicare.
Every patient with back pain should be wearing this belt.
Nothing gave me instant relief except for the Dr. Ho belt.
Feel good while standing, walking, driving, doing housework, and while laying down. And now Dr. Ho's patented belt is available at our best price ever. It's even covered by Medicare. Order now and get the easy-to-use hand pump and back rehabilitation DVD free.
You know, similar belts can cost you almost $1,000, but my belts won't cost you $500, not $300, not even $200. I will give you my special TV price.
And remember, Dr. Ho's belt is covered by Medicare.
If you know a friend or family member that suffers with pain, get them my system today. Help them live with less pain, be more active, and get back to doing the things they love. Give them the gift of health.
Listen to this important message. If you owe money to the IRS, you will want to hear this. Penalties and interest compound daily on your back taxes, putting you under a mountain of debt. Tax 10,000 has years of experience connecting people with tax resolution specialists. Working through the IRS Fresh Start program, they will handle all the necessary forms, and if you qualify, you may end up saving thousands of dollars. Call Tax 10,000 at 800-773-4604.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace? Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now. or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts. Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning.
There's a brand new online travel site that you need to visit before planning your next vacation. www.blueskyvacations.net. You'll find great rates for any type of travel or vacation you have in mind. Sign up for their email list for exclusive offers and discounts. They have extremely competitive prices and well-informed travel advice. Experience tranquility under a blue sky with www.blueskyvacations.net.
Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us. And just before we went to break, Sal was right in the middle of telling us a story when he met Don King playing golf. And Don says to him, "Hey, little Sal, who's your favorite fighter?" And Sal said,
Roberto the Hands of Stone Duran. Roberto Duran was my favorite fighter, and to this day, he's probably one of my favorite fighters. But I'll tell you what. So Don just had that gleaming smile. Literally, his smile went from ear to ear. And he said, "Well, I'm going to make your day, your dream come true." He said, "I want you to come down to see me at the Philadelphia Spectrum next week. I'm holding a press conference between Roberto Duran, and I think it was Adolfo or Edwin Viruet. I'm not sure which one of the brothers he was fighting. And you're going to meet your legend, and then we'll have you guys spar and all this stuff." And, I was so excited. I said, wow, my jaw just dropped. Here I was, 16, just winning the Golden Gloves, and I'm going to meet my legend, my favorite fighter in the whole world. And sure enough, I showed up that next week at the Philadelphia Spectrum, had full credentials, got right in. Don expected me, and as soon as I walked in, he brought me over to Roberto Duran, shook hands, and it was just a great afternoon. And like I said, Don King always kept his word to me, and just over-delivered anytime you were involved with Don King. He would always make you feel like you, and that's why he was a great promoter. He would always make you feel that you were center stage, no matter who you were. If he engaged with you, you were center stage.
Hey, Sal, let me ask you a quick question. Did you get to meet Ray Arcel as well?
Oh, I met Ray Arcel from years ago in Gleason's boxing gym when I used to train down there.
That's cool. He's another one of those great. He's one of those great trainers that a lot of young people never heard of. And it's a shame. But Don King, Bob Arum on ESPN's broadcast on Saturday night, I thought was the best part of the event. However, we did get to see a couple of great fights, like, for example, the new WBC 140-pound title holder, Jose Ramirez, improved to 22-0 with 16 knockouts when he scored a 12-round unanimous decision over Amir Rahman, who dropped the second fight in his career. He's now 21-2 with 18 knockouts. It did go to distance, the way the judges scored it. One had it 120-108, which is obviously every round for Ramirez. One judge saw it 117-111. One had it a little tighter, 115-113. I'm okay with the 117-111 score. I did think that Amir Rahman landed some good hard shots, but the thing is that Ramirez came back, and if we were talking about this on Friday, Sal, if Amir Rahman landed 2 good shots, Ramirez came back with 4, and that's why some of those close rounds I had to lean towards Ramirez. Now, I also said some things about why I picked Ramirez. Now, I was partial to Amir Rahman because he's from about an hour south of where the studio is right now, and we had a connection with him. Not only I say we, but Dax Khan had a connection with him. And speaking of Dax Khan, I wish my man Dax a speedy recovery. But the one thing I said was, the weakness that Amir Rahman has is his corner, is his trainer, Stacy McKinley. And during this fight, Sal, Stacy McKinley says to him, around the 6th round. It might have even been the 7th. He's in the corner, and he says to Amir Rahman, "What are you doing? Don't show him that right power hand yet. You don't want to show him your power yet." And I'm saying to myself,
first round.
I'm saying to myself, you don't want to show him your power hand. What are you waiting for, you idiot? And then by the 10th round, he's going, you're gonna have to give it all you got. You got to go. You know, what kind of trainer has a fighter who's in a fight like Ramirez and Amir Rahman was, and he's trying to have him say, remember the story I said, you know, when it comes fight time, you want to experiment, you want to learn things, you want to practice stuff. What the hell do you think sparring is for? But when a bell rings and it's a real fight, you shouldn't be holding anything back. Of course you want to set up a fighter for a punch. You want to get the feeling for how he delivers his. Maybe you could feint and catch him off guard or counter him because you see a lazy jab or something. I get it. But you don't want to save your arsenal. We're talking 7 rounds here in a 12-round fight.
More than half over.
Yeah, what's your thoughts? Did you catch that?
You know, that's one of the things I must have missed. But I will tell you this, Bill. That is the worst advice. I mean, you know, how many times does a fight get established? I mean, sometimes in the first round when you land a big solid shot, you got the guy thinking right away, well, what are we going to do here? How am I going to contend with this? He should have went out there the first round and tried to get that opening and deliver a hard right hand, and that would have changed the whole tempo of the fight, possibly. But I'll tell you what, Ramirez fought a fight. He was hungry. He was relentless. He was determined. And as you suggested, every time Amir Rahman threw one punch or two punch or a 3-punch combination, Ramirez came back with an answer. He had an answer to everything. He came back with 4 or 5 punch combinations. And he just, the war of attrition, you know, through conditioning, his heart, and his work ethic there in the ring, and his will to win. He wanted that fight. You could see in the later rounds. He was fighting to win that title.
You know, I knew Amir Rahman, to his credit, is a guy that packs a punch. But I knew that he was in for a long night, and I started thinking, you know, now we got to see what kind of conditioning Ramirez has, because Amir Rahman landed an uppercut early in that fight. I don't know if it was I don't know if it was the first round or the second round, but it was early in that fight.
It was devastating.
And it was such a flush uppercut. Jose Ramirez's head snapped back. It was reminding me of not quite as vicious because of the power difference, but it reminded me of when AJ nailed Klitschko with an uppercut. And Ramirez didn't bat an eye. I mean, this guy just, and I was just like,
he said, I'm here.
You know, and that's when, I don't know, maybe Stacey McKinley was thinking, oh, well, let's not let the right hand go. Let's let him think that was it. I don't know. But once again, I called it on Friday. I said that the equalizer in this fight is the corners. And Stacey McKinley is a curse, man. Whoever's working with this guy, get away from him, because in the big fights he's gonna fail you. And speaking of failing, you know, I've been pretty negative on Freddie Roach, and here's why. When you look at Freddie Roach and you see where his success comes, he comes with guys that are offensive minded, fighters that move forward and let their hands go with reckless abandon at times, even though, or let me rephrase that, a controlled reckless abandon. And that's what Jose Ramirez did. And that is a good match for Freddie Roach. Freddie Roach is a good trainer when he gets fighters that fight like Jose Ramirez or Manny Pacquiao, etc., etc. He needs those kinds of guys. When you get other kinds of fighters that need more of a trainer, more of a teacher, Freddie Roach isn't that guy. I mean, did you see that, or am I off base there, brother?
No, I think you're pretty close to target there, Bill. You know why? Because, you know, you often wonder, like the old chicken and the egg, or which came first. And, you know, does a fighter bring out the best of a trainer, or does a trainer bring out the best of a fighter? It's a bilateral relationship. I mean, they work hand in hand. And when a trainer can connect psychologically and spiritually and really just try to, just emotionally get into the fighter's head and psyche and know how to help him see where his assets are and negate what might not be helpful to him. It's a great relationship, and they have confidence in each other, and they get to know each other and what they could expect to deliver. So yeah, that goes hand in hand. Styles make fights, and trainers make styles. I like that. Let's leave that.
Yeah.
Sure.
I just I thought that they seem to be a good fit. Ramirez now a world champion, and in case y'all forgot, the reason why the belt was even vacant was because Terrence Crawford vacated the title. So in any event, hey, listen, I'm going to take a short break. When I come back, I got some fight results from that card and some of the other big ones from the weekend. We got some news to talk about. We got some emails to read. All of that is coming up in 2.
Billy C will be right back.
Need relief from backaches and stiffness in your hips or down your legs? Then you need Dr. Ho's Back Relief Belt, the innovative technology to support and decompress your spine. And now it's covered by Medicare.
Every patient with back pain should be wearing this belt.
Nothing gave me instant relief except for the Dr. Ho belt.
Feel good while standing, walking, driving, doing housework, and while laying down. And now Dr. Ho's patented belt is available at our best price ever. It's even covered by Medicare. Order now and get the easy-to-use hand pump and back rehabilitation DVD free.
Similar belts can cost you almost $1,000, but my belts won't cost you $500, not $300, not even $200. I will give you my special TV price.
And remember, Dr. Ho's belt is covered by Medicare.
If you know a friend or family member that suffers with pain, get them my system today. Help them live with less pain, be more active, and get back to doing the things they love. Give them the gift of health.
This is important news for women using birth control medications and devices. If you or a loved one have been diagnosed with a pseudotumor after using one of these birth control drugs or devices, you may be eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Contact the law firm of Davis & Crump right now if you or a loved one have used one of these birth control medications or devices and were diagnosed with a pseudotumor to see if you are eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Call now. Operators are standing by.
Hologram USA presents a proposal to all investors. Hologram USA is an innovative three-dimensional patented technology that shifted the paradigm in media technology. Our patented hologram technology that brought you Tupac and Coachella, Whitney Houston, Billie Holiday, and many more is integrating live performances to bring your favorite past and present entertainers beyond your imagination. Invest in the patented technology before the banks scoop up all the stock. Invest in Hologram USA today. Hologram USA Flagship Theater, located on Hollywood Boulevard's Walk of Fame, is the first of many to come. Call now to be part of the explosive growth. Pick up the phone. Dial the number on your screen now. Invest in Hologram USA today. Call the number on your screen right now to learn about this investment opportunity.
Call 800-624-1673. 800-624-1673.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace?
Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Now back to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C., the only radio host man enough to take a punch from Mike Tyson.
Wait a minute, man. Hold on there. Jeremy, man, I need you to take this one, all right?
Wait, what? No way. I can't do this.
Need I remind you I'm Billy C., damn it? Now put on that mustache and get in there.
Hey, look at me. I'm Billy C. Crap.
Undisputed heavyweight champion of Boxing Talk Radio. It's Talkin' Boxing with Billy C.
Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C Show. Glad you could be with us. Speaking of being with us, don't forget, man, the week of the Mexican holiday in September. We'll give you the exact days tomorrow. It's going to be the Thursday, Friday, and Saturday of that weekend. We are doing our next Billy C boxing event. Make sure you're there. It's going to be 3 days of fun in the sun on St. Simon's. We're going to have a golf tournament, a fishing tournament. We're going to have dinners at Sal's. We're going to have a meet and greet. We're going to have a fight night. All this is going on, and we want you to be part of it. If you've never been part of one of our events, you're not going to want to miss this one because it's going to be the best. I might even have some memorabilia there. We'll have some special guests, all of that stuff. I was talking to Marlon Starling, former champion, this weekend, and he's excited about it as well. So make sure you make your plans now. But anyway, we got some other fights that took place on the undercard of Jose Ramirez and Amir Aman for an interim belt. Now, the WBC, that was the junior welterweight title that Jose Ramirez won, the vacant title. Well, the WBC felt, and rightly so, that they need to start making some moves because they hadn't required Adonis Stevenson, their light heavyweight world champion, who hasn't had a mandatory title defense since 2015, that they better do something. And they decided to have an interim title, and that put up Alexander Gvozdyk against Meteor Amar, I should say, I'm sorry. And Gvozdyk won in a unanimous decision, 117-111, 116-112, 118-110 was the way the judges scored it. Gvozdyk improved to 15-0 with 12 knockouts. And Amar drops to 34-6-2 with 16 knockouts. One thing that I noticed in this fight, and you and I were talking about it a little bit before we came on air, Sal, was how tough this guy was from France. Amar, was extremely tough, and it got me thinking. You know, throughout the history of boxing, at least in my lifetime, plus prior, you know, the historical aspect that I have been involved in over the years, I can think of two great French fighters in Georges Carpentier and also Marcel Cerdan, and you agreed with me, but there's been a lot of tough guys, just like Mehdi Amir from this weekend. You can't discredit. I mean, I wasn't giving him much of a chance, but no. He was there. He did not make it an easy night for Gvozdyk. What'd you think?
No, I thought he was there. I thought he was in the fight. I thought he tried to offer some good offense, and he caught Gvozdyk. I'm going to kill this name, Gvozdyk, a couple of opportunities there that he caught him with some good shots. But I'll tell you what, you know, I like these Ukrainian fighters. You look at them; they are so fundamentally sound. They do the basics exceptionally well. That's what I find in their style, their fight. And I think that's what leads them to so much success in the ring, because they're not trying to reinvent the wheel. They do have a great style in that they do the basics of fighting exceptionally well on a lot of levels. And I can't say more about it. And he showed it that night against Amir. And I think that Amar put up a good fight. He was in the fight. He caught him with some good shots. There were some opportunities for him that weren't capitalized on. But I think that it was a good fight overall and a great exhibition by this Ukrainian fighter.
You know, the broadcast that ESPN had, it was billed as Ramirez and Aman as the main event. And the co-main event was Gvozdyk against Amar. I'm sorry. But the fight that they put on last, and they were billing it as a special attraction fight, was the undefeated featherweight Michael Conlan. He improved to 6-0 with 5 knockouts when he took a 15-2, now 15-3, David Berna. Basically, he carried. Berna was down, writhing in pain in the first round. And there was no doubt that Conlon let off the hook, and then finished him at 1 minute of the second round. I understand that it was St. Paddy's Day, and Conlon obviously from Ireland and all this stuff, but did they really have to make that the real main event? I mean, that could have been the first fight of the evening. That could have even went between Gvozdyk and Ramirez Aman. He was in with a guy that looked great on paper, but obviously was no match. But the one thing I will say about Berna, I have never seen such a disproportionate leg size on a guy in my life. It looked like they photoshopped another body on top of like some monster's legs. This guy had the biggest, strongest looking legs I've ever seen. And maybe that's why Michael Conlon decided to work the body, because he knew that if he landed at something solid on the chin with tree trunks like that, Sal, it would have been hard to knock him down. But I tell you, he found a soft couple of spots in his body, didn't he?
You got the eye for talent, man. I'll tell you. Well, usually you see in the history of fighting, it's those guys with the tree trunk thighs and the legs that can deliver and execute a great punch with that torque in the trunk and are powerful. But we'll never see that from Burma. Well, at least we didn't see it, because I'll tell you what, Conlon hit him with such a left to the solar plexus, a body shot in the first round. He dropped this guy so fast with that left to the body. I didn't think he was going to get up. And when he did get up and he made it to the second round, it was a short night for him, as you said. I mean, the referee said, this guy, and he kept asking the guy after the first, are you still able to fight? Do you want to continue? Do you want to continue? This wasn't the 12th round after a bloody bloodbath. No, this guy just, he wanted to continue. He just couldn't. And the referee stopped the fight, which was probably giving him mercy at the second round.
That body shot was right down, down
there.
The middle. I mean, that was
spine.
Yeah, that was a breadbasket shot if I've ever seen. And when a fighter and Larry Hazard says it all the time, when a fighter comes back to the corner, and you're the trainer, right?
Yeah.
Nobody has spent as much time with that fighter, hopefully, than you did. If you're the trainer,
right, correct. You
should know this fighter, and it's too often than not that we have these trainers and other cornermen that are awfully tough when it comes to their fighters fighting and not them. If you're a trainer and you actually care about your fighter, and you see him come back to the corner in the condition that David Berna came back after that first round, I mean, wincing in pain, couldn't breathe, and the instructions they're giving him is, take deep breaths, take deep breaths. And the kid is like, yeah, every time I try to take a breath, the pain is killing me. I mean, you got to really think about sending a kid out there for the second round. I mean, hey, credit to Conlon. He did it. He's the one that inflicted the damage. But, come on. It was 1 minute into the second round, too long for David Berna. But congratulations to Conlon. He improves to 6-0 with 5 knockouts. One other fight that I want to mention that was on that card, Antonio Lozada improved to 39-2 with 33 knockouts when he stopped Felix Verdejo, who was the big favorite in this fight. In the 10th round, 2 minutes and 37 seconds of the 10th round, knocked him down, and the referee waved it off. It was when he got up, he just got battered, and the ref waved it off. Verdejo drops to 23-1, losing the first fight of his career. Some other fights I wanted to just mention real quickly. In the super middleweight division, Jamie Mugunya improved to 28-0 when he got a third-round knockout of Johnny Navetti, who's generally a tough guy, usually goes rounds. It was a rematch between these two guys who fought a little less than a year ago. Navarrete drops to 33-10. We talked a little bit about this fight last week because Donnie Palmer, a heavyweight that was 9-1-1, big guy, 6'10", was talking all kinds of trash about fighting a 2-0 heavyweight in England, Joe Joyce, and was saying, yeah, after I take care of Joe Joyce, I'm going after Anthony Joshua. And I was laughing because when you look at this when you look at this guy's record, I mean, there's nothing that suggests that he could even be in the same breath of any of the top heavyweights. Well, Joe Joyce made what I was saying pretty true because in less than a minute, in a little more than a half a minute, 38 seconds, Joe Joyce knocked out Donnie Palmer. So that took place in London on Saturday. And also another fighter I want to mention in the cruiserweight division, Matty Askin. He improved to 24 wins, 3 losses, and a draw when he stopped Steven Simmons in the second round. Matty Askin's a tough guy. I've always enjoyed watching him. An old guy, no offense, Sal.
Easy.
Not quite as old as you.
I'm going to make another comeback, Bill. I swear, right now.
Former IBF middleweight champ Sam Solomon fought Wes Caper. And the fight went 12 rounds. Some belt was on the line. And it ended in a draw. The way the judges scored it, 2 had it even, 114-114. The third one scored at 114-113 for Sam Solomon, who's a wild fighter. I didn't get to watch this fight, but it amazes me that it went 12 rounds. Normally I would think of Sam Solomon, even though he's 44, shouldn't have went the distance with Wes Caper, but maybe this should be an indicator to Mr. Solomon that he should move on to bigger and better things. Christian Mahares was a very exciting fighter to watch. And he was a former world champion. He held belts for the WBC, WBA, and IBF. And he fought a fight in Mexico on Saturday, which he termed his farewell fight. And he took on a pretty tough Argentina fighter, Fernando Saucedo, and he won. He stopped Saucedo at 2 minutes and 20 seconds of the 8th round. His if he really is over his final career record, 59 wins, 8 losses, and 2 draws with 27 knockouts. Saucedo drops to 61, 8, and 3 with 10 knockouts. Sal, what's the odds that Mahares says, you know what, let me have one more farewell fight so I can get to an even 60 wins? What do you think?
I think that's. I think Las Vegas would give that a favorable odd to occur. It's hard, Bill. It's hard. When you have these little personal goals, you're competing against yourself at times, and you set challenges and goals. Like we said, a fighter challenging himself is a great thing. A lot of things can evolve from that. And that notch of a 60th win may just creep into his mind over the years over the months of just considering him being idle. So, you know what, we may see a return out probably within 6 months to a year.
Well, you never know.
You never know. I don't know. You know what? Then again, maybe he felt he did all that he could do in a ring, and he is ready to go on to other things. So you don't know what the motivation may be. But, that one fight away from number 60 would be a little bit more of a carrot for me to bite onto.
I know. That's what I'm saying. It's like, okay, maybe one more.
59.
Yeah, 59 is such an odd number. I know.
59 is 59.
I know.
But when you could hit 60, wow, that's
60,
a whole nother. 60
number. 60 sounds so much more.
It does.
Hey, listen.
Sounds like appeal. There's more.
But it's like when you go from 59 to 60, it seems a lot older all of a sudden. But anyway,
not there yet.
Some fights that took place in Japan on Sunday. Ryoya Yamanaka improved to 16-2 with 5 knockouts when he stopped Moises Calaros when he wasn't able to come out after the 8th round in Kobe, Japan. That's where all the good meat is. And on the undercard, Carlos Canizales improved to 20-0 with a draw when he also picked up the WBA junior flyweight belt when he beat previously unbeaten Rhea Konashi in that fight. So a couple of fights out of Japan that took place. Now Friday, we had some fights, and I was afraid of this, and we were talking a little bit about this before we came on. But Roberto Ariaza, I don't know why I have such trouble with his name. Improved to 16-0 with 13 knockouts, picking up his 13th knockout when he destroyed Hurricane Sammy Valentin in Tampa on Friday night. Valentin drops the second fight of his career, both of his losses coming at vicious, by vicious knockouts. But 20 seconds is all it took Arizia to take care of Sammy Valentin. And, we both had a chance to meet and talk with Sammy prior to him turning pro. As a matter of fact, I had met with him and his parents several times. And I will tell you this, Sal. What we have here with Sammy Valentin is an extreme, and by the way, I got to call his Florida Golden Gloves championship.
We were all there for that. You did.
The thing that I see about Sammy Valentin is an extremely talented young fighter. But here's what happened. His parents, and I'm not blaming his parents. Let me rephrase that. The family had invested every penny that they had, time, money, everything, into Sammy Valentin's boxing career. And it came to a point when he was ready to turn pro that the most important aspect, the Papa Valentin quit his job to be with Sammy and all this stuff. And, what it boiled down to for these guys was money. And they took it. They got it. They turned down some other offers from other people, including yours truly, and took a cash deal where they got some money to sign. And for the most part, they did pretty well. They climbed the ladder pretty quickly, 10-0. But I think Friday night, Sal, showed that they made the incorrect decision. And the reason why I say this, and I'm not taking anything away from his talent, because Sammy Valentin clearly has the talent, but you can't jump from a slug to a top contender from one fight. And when you're kind of tied in with a guy that's just concerned about making money, it's hard to do that. And don't get me wrong, everybody wants to make money in this sport. But I think what we witnessed on Friday night was Sammy Valentin, the end result of making the wrong decision when he turned pro. Now, he's only 13-2, and he's still a young fighter. But my question is, where does he go from here, Sal? Should he look at this as a revamping of his career, or should he pick up where he left off and try to run with it? Because that's kind of what he did with this fight. He lost, got knocked out in a previous fight, won a couple of comeback fights, and then he was immediately in this one. Should he rethink things and kind of look at himself in the mirror and say, listen, I need to rebuild from the start, not just correct something and move forward? Where is Sammy Valentin right now, in your opinion?
Right now, he is not in a good position. I will tell you this. First of all, he's coming off of 2 back-to-back knockout losses. And that does a lot to your ego. And also, you got to have a lot of questions over there and in that camp. And I think he's got to really, really get a hold and a grip on some of his defensive skills, which he's capable of doing. But also, he's got to start all over, to rebuild and redo the whole reboot, if you will, and to see. Give him a fight that's going to be challenging, but that he should come out to be victorious. When you, John, and myself went down to see Sammy, and I know we tried to see if we were going to get his contract and manage him, and we were all talking to him. We all had one-on-ones and group things with him. He and his family, great family, lovely family, great story. But afterwards, I pulled John aside. I said, John, I don't know if we get this guy. I don't know if he really is going to be the one to rise over a couple things. Because I talked to Sammy, and I talked about a couple things that he's going to look forward to or whatever, and I just didn't see him engaging as much as what he thought of. And I saw the money that they were looking for right off the bat. And this wasn't an Olympic gold medalist who was like from the 76 or 82 or Olympic team coming out and wanting to get a great fast track to the world title. So I knew he may have troubles. And sure enough, into his career here, 3 years or so, it's starting to surface. And I wish him the best. And I hope he does recover. I hope he does, because he is a talented fighter. But I think he's got to revamp and redo some things.
Well, the thing is every fighter, when they have success on the amateur ranks, they seem invincible. And likewise with his parents, they love the kid and they're thinking very positive. So you may be blind to what is really out there, and I think that's what happened with the Valentin family. Some money was thrown at them at a time of need. It's similar to what I opened up this show with Don King, saying that he used to get these contracts with fighters for half the money because he would have a suitcase full of cash, and that's kind of what happened with Valentin. But he does possess the talent. He is a good fighter. But, getting devastatingly knocked out twice in 15 fights definitely could take a toll on a young fighter, especially a fighter as young as Sammy. So, like you, I wish him the best. So we'll see what happens as he moves forward. Also, a couple other fights I just want to mention. Antonio Orozco improved to 27-0 with 17 knockouts when he won an 8-round unanimous decision over Martin Honaro, who drops to 33-13. Took place in Los Angeles. All three judges scored it the same at 79-73. And former world title challenger and currently ranked number 9 by the WBC in the light heavyweight division, Isaac Chilimba, improved to 24 wins, 5 losses, and a couple of draws when he took care of Blake Caparello, who drops to 28-3-1. 115-113 was the way 2 of the judges scored it, and the third had it 117-111. And that wraps up the bigger fights from the weekend. A couple of things of note. Francisco Vargas is going to be returning to the ring on April 12th on ESPN. Vargas is 24 wins, 1 loss, and a couple of draws. He was a former junior lightweight champion. He's taken on Rod Salika in a fight that is going to headline April 12th. So we'll see what happens with him. And although the contract wasn't signed yet, it was kind of already announced that your favorite fighter, Sal, Sergey Kovalev, will be taking on Marcus Brown sometime in the early summer. It may be as early as June 23rd, or it could be in July. So they're saying that it's as soon as June 23rd, but it will not be later than the end of July. They do know that it will be taking place at Madison Square Garden. Kovalev is 32 wins, 2 losses, and a draw. He's 34 years old now. Brown is a younger fighter. He's got an impressive record. He's only 27 years old. He's 21-0 with 16 knockouts. But he's never faced anybody like Kovalev. Even Kovalev at the state he is now, I don't know. I don't know if it's a smart move. I mean, once again, you have a young fighter who's on the way up, and he's coddled all the way up to a ranking, and now you're going to put him in with Kovalev. He was a mandatory for Artur Beterbiev, who's 12-0 with 12 knockouts. Right. So, I mean, I don't know what is the better fight for Marcus Brown. It seems to me that they're looking for the money fight. He could probably make more money fighting Kovalev than he can Beterbiev. But what's your thoughts, man? Once again, we got a fighter 21-0, but of those 21 fights, he really hasn't beaten anybody. No one is close to either Beterbiev or a Kovalev. What's your thoughts?
Bill, I'll tell you, here's my thoughts, and I've said it before here. You know, you have no idea as far as what I've got to research this fighter. I've got to see what he's capable of doing. I want to look at his past fights and see what I can assess there. Sometimes you got a great package, you got a great present ready to be unwrapped, and you protect them. You give them the fodder coming up, and then you test them. That's how you normally do it. You'll test them with different styles, with different opportunities to beat different types of fighters at different levels. And if this wasn't the career path that they put this gentleman in, either they feel they got the special package that's going to step into the ring with a world-class, renowned, known a former world champion in Kovalev, and he's either going to fall to pieces and be revealed and then counted out, or he's going to rise to the occasion and say, hey, this is me, I'm the real deal, and I got to where I am for certain reasons, and I'm going to show everybody this is what I can do. And he's going to beat Kovalev. But for just what you've told me, and like I said, I got to research him, I think Kovalev is just going to have a way of rebuilding his 2 losses to Andre Ward, and they're going to try and leverage him back on top for another title fight. So I think this is going to be more fodder for Kovalev.
You know, the funny thing is they're already trying to bill it as a tough fight for Kovalev because they're saying Kovalev hates southpaws, can't do well against southpaws, can't do well, and they go, Marcus Brown is a southpaw. Yeah, well, you know, the guy's never fought anybody very good, or I shouldn't say that. He hasn't fought a world title holder caliber fighter, so we'll see what happens. But in any event, I'm going to take a short break. When I come back, I got some emails to read. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back in 2.
Billy C will be right back. Part of the Billy C Boxing Network.
Snacking has never been this exciting. At Graze.com, we combine wholesome ingredients with the flavors we all love to create over 100 exciting snacks. Like these. We'd love to send you a Graze sampler box for free. Just go to Graze.com, enter the code ENJOY36, and we'll mail your free box to your home or office. Join thousands of Grazers already in love with our exciting snacks. So come to Graze.com for your first box free.
Need relief from backaches and stiffness in your hips or down your legs? Then you need Dr. Ho's Back Relief Belt. The innovative technology works to support and decompress your spine. And now it's covered by Medicare.
Every patient with back pain should be wearing this belt.
Nothing gave me instant relief except for the Dr. Ho belt.
Feel good while standing, walking, driving, doing housework, and while laying down. And now Dr. Ho's patented belt is available at our best price ever. It's even covered by Medicare. Order now and get the easy-to-use hand pump and back rehabilitation DVD free.
You know, similar belts can cost you almost $1,000, but my belts won't cost you $500, not $300, not even $200. I will give you my special TV price.
And remember, Dr. Ho's belt is covered by Medicare.
If you know a friend or family member that suffers with pain, get them my system today. Help them live with less pain, be more active, and get back to doing the things they love. Give them the gift of health.
Listen to this important message. If you owe money to the IRS, you will want to hear this. Penalties and interest compound daily on your back taxes, putting you under a mountain of debt. Tax 10,000 has years of experience connecting people with tax resolution specialists. Working through the IRS Fresh Start program, they will handle all the necessary forms, and if you qualify, you may end up saving thousands of dollars. Call Tax 10,000 at 800-773-4604.
Endless pools are an incredible alternative to traditional pools, making it easy and inexpensive to swim at home. Exercise year-round against a smooth current set to your desired pace and temperature. With our new underwater treadmill, you can walk or run without stressing your joints. Endless pools are simple to install and even simpler to maintain. The water stays crystal clear with almost no chlorine. Call for your free idea kit and experience the freedom of swimming at home.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you!
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Talking Boxing with Billy C. He may not have an Excellence in Broadcasting award, but the night's still young.
And he's got martinis.
So you never know what may be by morning. It's Talking Boxing with Billy C.
Talking Boxing with Billy C. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us. Hey, don't forget, if you want us to have your show, if you want us to have our show at your place, whether you're involved with a casino or you own a gym or a fitness center or a sports bar or even a hotel, or even if you got a connection on a cruise ship, those are all the targeted places that would make sense to have us come and do our show live from your place for a week or at least 3 days. Drop me an email, billy@talkinboxing. That's TALKINBOXING.com. We're looking to do some kind of a tour where we can put together a bunch of different places to do the show live out of. So I'm looking forward to doing it. So if you're the person that makes that decision, drop me an email. Let's get her done. I'd love to do that. Wouldn't you do like it, Sal?
You kidding me? I would love to do that. I definitely could think of quite a few venues that would provide a great environment for us to do a show out of and give good promotion to the venue that we're at.
Well, that's the name of the game. I mean, that's the two-way street part of it. You know, we would do the show, but you know, we would be promoting the heck out of the venue. But in any event, hey, speaking of promotion, don't forget, if you want your comment or thought or shout out or whatever you want heard live on this show, and you're watching in our YouTube channel, or on our YouTube channel, I should say, don't forget, because of popular demand, we got the Super Chat available. So throw in a Super Chat, and I'll take care of you on this end. So it's available right now as we're watching the show. But got some emails, Sal, and this first one is from my man Willie. He says, hey, Billy C., after watching that fiasco between Joe Joyce and Donnie Big Pudding Palmer at the York Hall on Saturday, I'm thinking that David Hay might just as well hire a couple of grave robbers and start lining up dead corpses in front of Joyce. Somebody jokingly commented in one of the YouTube chat rooms that while Palmer was in London, he got a part-time job as a taxi driver and was the guy who actually drove David Hay and Joe Joyce to the fights, which is kind of funny. He says, also, just to rub it in a bit for Deontay Wilder, Anthony Joshua and the Pope got into the Pope-mobile and drove around the streets of London, Sal, and somebody in the crowd shouted, hey, who's that standing next to AJ? Which I think is kind of funny.
There's a joke like that coming up.
Well, obviously, it's a joke on Deontay Wilder trying to say that he's got the same popularity as AJ, and although we all know that he wouldn't have the same popularity as AJ in England, the sad part. And it's nothing more than due to the lack of promotion of Deontay. I don't think he's as popular here in the States as AJ is. What do you think?
I don't know. You know, I'll tell you. I think that AJ, one of the reasons why he has said that he wants to fight in the United States, I think, you know, is to try to capture more fans from the U.S. I think he's got a lot of fans. Predominantly all of his fan base, a lot of his fan base, the majority of his fan base is right there in the UK. Deontay Wilder, I think his last fight out, it was a big showcase. It was a tremendous victory for him, and I think whether you knew of Deontay Wilder before or not, I think he captured a lot of fans after that last fight.
No, there's no doubt, but I don't know what you were saying, but the truth of the matter is that Anthony Joshua is more popular than Deontay Wilder.
Oh, yeah, in the heavyweight division. With
right, in the heavyweight. I think he's more popular than Deontay Wilder in the States. There's no question. And think about why. The reason why is because we're dealing with boxing fans and most boxing fans, it's global. Dax Khan had said it on this show before. It's a global sport, especially today, because of the global accessibility. And because of it, AJ is more popular. Now, I agree with you 100% about Deontay Wilder's value went up in the last fight. But the difference between the two, and the reason why AJ is more popular, is because he's more likable. And what I mean by that is, well, you know what? That could be a matter of opinion, you could say, but the numbers don't lie. The companies, the corporate alignment of companies, popular companies like Under Armour, for example, they reach out to Anthony Joshua to have him be a spokesperson for their product or service. I don't think anybody would want to associate themselves with Deontay Wilder for the same reasons. It's like Mayweather. Mayweather, nobody drew more than him in terms of pay-per-view and everything else. Everybody knows who Floyd Mayweather is, whether you're a boxing fan or not. Everybody knows who he is. So I mean, he's a popular figure. I heard somebody refer to him. It was an interview. It wasn't even for boxing, and they were using him as an example of having being that well known. But yet there's not one endorsement of Floyd Mayweather, and that's the reason, because he is not the greatest human being, and companies would be afraid to align themselves with him in fear that something would happen, like he beats up a woman or a pimply-faced security guard, or he's at the strip clubs, whatever. They don't want to align themselves with that. And that's a shit. That costs people money. Now, Floyd doesn't need the money; he makes enough. But for Deontay Wilder, I'm sure that he wouldn't mind throwing some extra money in his pocket. But because he was forced to promote himself in the manner in which he did, he may be helping himself right now position himself to make more money against Anthony Joshua when they fight, because of that great performance against Luis Ortiz. But because of the lack of promotion from a promoter, it's actually costing him money from endorsements. What do you think about that?
I think you just hit it on the head. You have two different camps, and Anthony Joshua's promotion has been international, has been worldwide, has been showcasing, has been enticing, has been aligning, and doing what promoters are supposed to do. Get their fighters' name in the living rooms. Get their fighters' name talked about on the streets. I mean, and that's why Anthony Joshua is, by that measure, a more popular fighter throughout the world. I think Deontay Wilder, if he had that similar kind of formula and promotional team, we'd be looking at two different pars here as well, or similar. But having yourself aligned with a company and an organization and a product, I mean, it would be ideal. And I'm sorry that Anthony Joshua has been gaining over Deontay Wilder on that level alone, because of the lack of promotion that Deontay Wilder has been able to have to provide or be provided for, and he's had to just be his own promoter by saying some outlandish things and getting the shock appeal to the fans and to people that are going to take notice. Well, we notice now, so let's see what we could do to get him aligned and ready for some big things to come, because he deserves it. He worked hard.
Well, they're talking about in some of the chat rooms, they're talking about potential opponents. And the truth of the matter is I think where Deontay Wilder really succeeded, Sal, is that he has positioned himself right now with one win. And this is the remarkable part of it. And I know you like him and stuff, and I like him as a person, and he's growing on me. But here's the thing, and this is the God's honest truth. Deontay Wilder is 40-0, with 39 of his wins coming by knockout. And of those 40 fights, one has been against a good fighter, and that was his last fight against Luis Ortiz. People can criticize and say Luis Ortiz was 100, blah, blah, blah. But here's what it got Deontay. It got Deontay Wilder a pass to not fight anyone else unless his name is Anthony Joshua. And to me, that was the most valuable piece of whatever he picked up in that win. Forget about the money. Forget about the accolades. Forget about the excitement. Forget about all those things. What he picked up was he made it obvious that the only fight for him is against Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua, on the other hand, doesn't have to say that. I mean, he could, pick somebody else and still make a ton of money. But as far as Deontay, if I'm Deontay, what I do now is I don't waste and take any chance against any other heavyweight. I don't care how weak they may seem. I focus on one fight, and that's against Anthony Joshua. What's your thoughts?
Bill, I concur with you, pal. That's the playbook. That's the only fight that we need to see Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua take place.
But wait. Like I said, AJ kind of could get away with another, non-substantial fight because of his drawing power. But Deontay should not do the same. That's my point. You know what I mean?
No, I understand. But you know what? If we have, and I'll tell you what, through his self-promoting, we'll have Deontay Wilder continually call out Anthony Joshua. And if Anthony Joshua doesn't answer and postpones or takes another opponent, then you're going to see all kinds of things turn. And you're going to see Deontay Wilder calling him out, saying, see, he's afraid to fight me. He's afraid to fight me. And fans are fickle. Anthony Joshua has his base and has his diehard fans. But fans are very fickle on a lot of levels because they want to see the best fighting the best. And that's why I'm saying right now, here and now, and I've said it in the past, the only fight after Anthony Joshua, if he does get past Parker, which is coming up very soon, then the only fight these two heavyweights need to do next would be to face each other in the ring before the end of this year. That's the only fight I want to see in the heavyweight division between two world champions, and I think that's how the fans feel.
If I'm Deontay Wilder, and since I have to promote myself because Lou DiBella doesn't promote anything, I take a different approach if I'm Deontay right now. I stop with the pounding on the chest. I stop telling everybody that I'm the best ever. I stop all that BS. What I do now is I look in the cameras when they're interviewing me, and I say, I'm the WBC World Heavyweight Champion. I want to fight Anthony Joshua. I am not fighting anyone else until Anthony Joshua steps in the ring with me. That's the way I would promote it. And I'll tell you why. That puts all the pressure on Anthony Joshua. He does not have to cry about money. He could do that behind the scenes. He does not have to demand a certain amount of percentage. He could do that behind the scenes. He could do all of that professional business stuff behind the scenes. He doesn't have to bring that out into the public. But what he could do with the public to gain more support is to just flat out and as a matter of factly say to anybody that will listen, my next fight is against Anthony Joshua. I don't care if the WBC strips me. I don't care if people call me a chicken. I don't care about nothing except fighting Anthony Joshua. I'm telling you, that approach will get that fight made faster than him pounding on his chest saying that AJ's scared of him and this and that. And you know what? I have a funny feeling that there's already a deal in place. I have a funny feeling that these two guys, Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder, have already met. I think they've already respected each other. I think there's a lot of things that were already done behind the scenes, and a good indicator is that Anthony Joshua, in his next fight against Joseph Parker, one of the ringside analysts is going to be Deontay Wilder. I'm telling you, that's the approach to get this fight made ASAP, Sal.
Well, I agree with you, and I think that that's the approach that they're going to take. That's a great plan out of your playbook, and I think it's going to come to fruition. And having Deontay Wilder ringside for this Anthony Joshua fight is just that, putting a little sugar on the dessert there. And I think it's inevitable. You're going to see maybe some antics, or you're going to see some calling out. You're going to see some things happening with Deontay Wilder ringside. And if Anthony Joshua should beat Parker, which we hope which he should do, but we'll see. You're going to see Deontay Wilder make that case and fight for that. And hey, it's inevitable. They've got to meet. They've got to meet in the ring.
But what I'm saying, Sal, is right now Deontay Wilder is the villain, right? I mean, he's playing the villain. He's playing the victim and the villain. In England, he's the villain. In the U.S., he tries to be the victim. He pounds his chest, he jumps, bomb squad. He does all of that stuff, right? But what he needs to do now is be a matter-of-factly, become Deontay Wilder, the business guy. And I don't mean negotiate in public. I mean change your persona just for this fight. It's obviously landed him where he is, but he doesn't need to keep it up. What he needs to do now is just a matter-of-factly, I want Anthony Joshua. If he's ringside, he just looks at Anthony Joshua and says, "You're next, man. You're the only guy I'm going to fight. There's nobody left for me to fight." I know people saying, "Oh, he's got to fight Dillian White. Oh, he's got to fight this one." No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. It's too. Yeah, but it's too risky. It's too risky for Deontay. Deontay Wilder doesn't want to get in the ring with. Listen, the biggest risk he's taken in his whole career was in his last fight. He doesn't need to take any more risk. He needs to fight AJ next, and he needs to somehow put that pressure on AJ by calling him out, saying that he wants to fight, saying that just being the pounding on his chest kind of guy. That's not really putting pressure on AJ. That's kind of making it comical. That's making it WWE-ish. What Deontay needs to do now is be the pro, be the guy who says, this fight's inevitable. Our two paths are crossing right now. You're next, AJ. You're next. That's it. Exactly. And then get the deal done.
Hold a pen up in hand.
Yeah, great.
I'm ready to sign.
Exactly.
Let's get those contracts together because I'm ready to sign, and we got to get in the ring.
Can't be about the money because Eddie Hearn has already said that they'll put a 2-fight deal together. So what that means is accept the money for the first fight. And the stipulation for the second fight, depending upon who wins, would be the cash out for both fighters. They both would make more money in the second fight. Deontay is foolish to hold out and demand more. Right now, in my opinion, he's earned a 60-40 split without batting an eye. 50-50 was never going to happen. But prior to the Luis Ortiz fight, it was you could have made the argument for Anthony Joshua that, he was going to offer 70-30 and be happy or go away. Now it's at least 60-40. But like I've always said too, Sal, 60-40 of what? The part that makes me laugh is I've heard Deontay Wilder say several times, we've made an offer. No, you haven't made an offer. See, this is where the stupidity comes in. No one has made an offer to Anthony Joshua to fight Deontay in the United States. No one has made an offer to do that. They have counter-offered. Somebody says, hey, I'll pay you X amount, and they say, no, we'll take this much. But that's still Anthony Joshua's side paying for the promotion, performing the promotion, etc., etc. Deontay does not have that power anywhere. Forget the United States. He doesn't have that power anyway. So at this point, he's got to turn the tables. If I was working with Deontay Wilder, I would say this is how you start to change your persona. You start looking at AJ. You start taking every interview, everything that you can get, and you be as matter-of-factly as possible. My next fight is against Anthony Joshua. That's it. I'm not fighting anyone else. I don't care if the WBC strips me. I don't care if people don't watch me. I don't care if everybody walks away. My next fight is Anthony Joshua. He has to fight me. End of story. That's what I would do, Sal.
Bill, I have to agree with you. That's the only fight that a lot of people want to see in the heavyweight division, number one. Number two, that is the stance that Deontay Wilder should actually take and have a pen in hand. And you know what? Don't be surprised if they settle on a 55-45 split. But the 60-40 is certainly more than what Deontay Wilder was going to be offered prior to his victory over Ortiz. But I'll tell you what, it's got to be. And I like the diplomatic way. I like the diplomacy you're suggesting being involved and incorporated. And I think all Deontay Wilder has to do is have that canned response. Hey, I'm fighting Anthony Joshua next. I got my pen in hand. We're just waiting for the contract, and you'll see it'll come to fruition. I think it'll do that this year.
You know what else, Sal? Another thing that I might want to do if I'm Deontay Wilder's management, I think I might want to forget the percentage split. Everybody's so stuck on that percentage split, and you know how that goes. That could be finagled and stuff.
If
I'm Deontay Wilder, maybe my approach now is a guaranteed purse. Yeah. I want X amount of money. End of story. I don't care what you make on top of that. I don't care who gets this. I don't care who gets that. I want X amount of money. And take that approach, because now you're kind of guaranteed. Now you don't have to worry that numbers were fudged or something like that. And you know, I don't know. To tell you the truth, I think that, and I know this is way more than he's ever made, but I think that Deontay Wilder should be guaranteed $10 million to fight Anthony Joshua. I really believe that, you know, Deontay Wilder should get $10 million and be happy with $10 million. But, you know, if he's in a position to make more with a percentage split, so be it. But if I'm Deontay Wilder, I take $10 million or a split, whichever's higher. I don't know. I would if it were me, I would try to negotiate a guaranteed purse rather than a purse that could be fudged. What do you think?
No, I mean, I think definitely. I mean, Anthony Joshua usually earns more than $20 million a fight out there in Wembley. But I'll tell you what, over the UK, I think that Deontay Wilder definitely can call for a minimum guarantee of $10 million. And that'll be the purse of his lifetime. And with the rematch clause in that contract, man, I'll tell you what, these guys could have a 2-fight deal that'll give them more money than they ever could have imagined.
And that's the smart move about that for Deontay is he's got 2 more fights left in his life.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it. You can cash out after your second fight.
Right.
If he gets $10 million and if he shakes the world and rocks the world and he beats Anthony Joshua, then you're going to see him in a driver's seat, and it's either going to have to be a 50-50 or maybe tides will turn. And you will see. But these guys will be set after 2 fights. And they could either continue, which I think Deontay Wilder would, especially if he wins, because he's going to probably look to achieve the record that Larry Holmes almost beat against Rocky Marciano, where it is substantial and is significant in the heavyweight division of the world to reach the number 50th win without a loss.
Yeah. Well, you know what? That's what I would do if I'm Deontay, but
absolutely,
we'll see what happens.
I think you should write him a letter.
I got one more email. This was from my man Rick. He says, "Hey Billy C and Sal." He says, "I was watching some old Bernard Hopkins fights, and it got me wondering why guys who are known for headbutting never suffer the cuts themselves. Guys like B-Hop, Timothy Bradley, Evander Holyfield are the best examples I can think of right now." He says they always lead with their heads, and they inflict a lot of damage on their opponents, but not to themselves. It's a good observation, and it does seem to happen more often than not, Sal. How do you explain a fighter who leads with their head, who seems to inflict, headbutt damage to an opponent, but doesn't sustain it themselves?
Well, I'll tell you what. I was known for my headbutts, but usually I was a recipient, and I had more cuts than I could. If I lose my hair, Billy, you could play tic-tac-toe on top of my head because you'll see so many scars. The bottom line is I do not have an answer for that. Sometimes a fighter's head is just the skin, whether it's tight, loose. It just some heads are built to endure more pain and more sharp blows. And head butters. I'll tell you, it's tough. It's tough to make the living that way, but you got to watch out, because I'll tell you, nothing hurts more than getting a skull pounded into your cheek or your head or your butt. It's like two rams in the middle of the ring, bouncing off each other's head. It's tough.
I think if a fighter is moving forward, and they clash, I think that's more, the odds are in their favor that they will inflict damage. Now, a lot of times you'll see two guys moving forward at the same time, like you suggested, description you made, like, two rams smashing their heads together. Then it's a 50-50 shot. So I don't know. But it is interesting. It's a great point from my man Rick. But anyway. Hey, on this day in boxing history, March 19th, in 1972, Rafael Herrera knocks out Ruben Olivares. A couple of big names there, huh? In the 8th round to win the world bantamweight title, and that took place in Mexico City on this day in 1972. On this day in 2007, Takafumi Sakata knocks out Lorenzo Parra in the 3rd round to win the WBA World Flyweight title, and that took place in Tokyo. And on this day, March 19th, in 1989, Yul Woo Lee knocks out Jermaine Torres in the 9th round to win the WBC World Junior Flyweight title, and that took place in Thailand on this day in 1989. Sal, we got a busy week coming up. And I hope that everybody sticks with us this week. We are trying to make some changes here. We will be introducing another new segment over the next several weeks, so we hope you guys are in for that. Now, as you know, this week, our Blast from the Past, we told you last week, we had a request for a Blast from the Past on Bob Arum. Well, this week, the request was Don King, and how fitting was that, especially after that really, it was a fantastic interview on ESPN with both Don King and Bob Arum. The worst part about it was that stupid Mark Kriegel. I mean, I can't stand him. I think that, he's trying to copy Larry Merchant. Doesn't this guy have his own personality? I mean, why is he trying to, and he's trying to replace a guy that's been a fixture on ESPN for all those years in Teddy Atlas. I think ESPN has made a really bad mistake. I do like Timothy Bradley. I will tell you. You know what I like about Timothy Bradley, Sal? He tells you the truth. He tells you the truth as a fighter. There was something that took place, and he went, "Oh man, that hurt. That hurt. Oh man, you go back to your corner, and it hurts. It hurts." He's talking about the Gavadzik fight. He says, that eye is swelling up. He says, let me tell you, that hurts. You're going back to your corner. He says, every time you're getting hit in that spot, it hurts. And a lot of times you don't hear fighters admit that they succumb to pain or something like that. And I thought it was enlightening that Timothy Bradley was so honest. And his, commentary status kind of went up a few notches, at least in my opinion. Joe Tessitore is always good. Bernardo Wilsuna, it drives me insane. And this guy, this new guy, Mark Kriegel or whatever his name is, it doesn't fit for me. Do you have any thoughts on that, or you want to stay away from it?
My observation, I do miss Teddy Atlas on ESPN. I thought he brought something to the table. I do like Timothy Bradley, but I'll tell you what, any cut or any swollen eye I ever had, you're insensitive to your own pain. You don't even feel it. The only time I felt it is when I went back to the corner. They put that end swell on the time.
Yeah, that's what he's saying.
Push it all out.
They're doing more damage to. How about the doctor? How about you got a cut, and your cut man puts the adrenaline, whatever, in it, and he's got it all patched up, and then they go, time, and then the doctor goes over and starts stretching it, ripping it all apart. Okay, he's good. Oh, Jesus, doc, now I'm bleeding worse than when I left, but anyway. Hey, listen, boys and girls, make sure you tune in tomorrow morning. Same bat time, same bat channel. Until then, I'll leave you with this. Ciao, baby.